Now the first DiamondBack covers were made in a garage only about 200 yards from here. We used to pick the product up, cut, bent, and welded in State College, Pennsylvania, and then we drove them over the mountain to Phillipsburg, PA, and we'd assemble them in a garage. So it's been about 6 years since then. We've definitely evolved quite a bit from those early days. We feel we have a long way to go still, but as we walk into the shop, we'll get a good idea of how the product manufacturing has evolved from just two guys in a garage making it to now a manufacturing process. So let's go back into the shop and we'll take a look at how they're made. Here we are at the start of the process of making a DiamondBack truck cover. All DiamondBack truck covers are made out of aluminum diamond plate. So it gives you a tough, skid-resistant pattern, but it's aluminum, so it's lightweight, it's strong, and it won't rust like any steel product will. Where the product starts is it starts as flat sheets of metal. The product gets shipped in large pallets. We get thousands of pounds shipped in. Once the product is shipped, it gets staged and ready to shear. Our HD covers are made out of 0.1 aluminum and our SE covers are made out of 0.08 aluminum. So once the product is staged, then it goes into our shear and gets cut to the dimensions of the truck. Metal is brought into the DiamondBack facility in a specific size, but since all truck beds are different, the metal has to then be sheared to taper with the bed of the truck. Our spec binder gives us each bed dimension for every truck there is, and each truck dimension has a specific code on the shear. The shear is numerically controlled, and the product is simply loaded into the shear, pressed against the back gauge, and the shear comes down and shears it to length. Each side of the cover needs to be sheared to a specific size because truck beds have a taper to them, so they're wider at the cab than they may be at the tailgate, and so each side needs to be sheared to a specific length, and each side needs to be aligned so that the taper is accurate. Once the product is sheared, it comes to a router table where the corners, the lock rods, all of the holes that are needed to produce the cover are drilled. We use a router table because it allows us to cut out very clean edges. Our router table works by lining the product up against a back setting, clamping it down, and then starting the router to cut out the corners. Each cover in our program has a different spec in our program, so we have to code in a different code for each cover. Once that cover code is coded in, you basically just start the machine and it runs through, cutting out all of the parts, all of the locks, and all of the cuts for the corners of the cover. Because each tonneau cover is different, it doesn't allow us to use a stamping process as some other manufacturing processes may use. Our covers are all unique, so they have to be cut out with a unique pattern, and that's the advantage that the router table gives us. Here the router table will drill the holes for the hinges, and it'll also drill the lock holes. Once each panel is cut, it'll come over to our press brake. We have a 100-ton press brake, which will then press the product to give the product its strength and also give it its profile. That's the look of the truck cover. Once the product is cut out of the router, everything from the process here on out is standard for all covers. The press brake will come down, it'll drive the metal to a specific setting. Each side of the panel has to be bent up according to the spec. So each side will be bent into the configuration of each panel. Each panel will be built at a certain bend setting, then the bend settings will be changed, and then each panel will be bent again. Once the panels are bent, they get racked and staged, and we'll come over and show you what happens next. Each cover in our process goes through the manufacturing facility as one cover. So when a customer orders a product, if a dealer orders a product, the order gets printed out, it goes to the shear, he shears and then the router table cuts the specific cover that was ordered. After that process, the cover will go through our facility as one cover. So these 3 panels here make up one cover, these 3 panels here make up one cover, and they'll get racked and staged for welding. Once the covers are bent, they move into our welding room where they're welded. We have 2 welding processes. We have a TIG weld, which is the outside weld, which is a much cleaner weld. And then we have a spool gun, which is more of a MIG weld, which is more of our dirty weld. All of the TIG welds go on the outside corners. They're done with very high quality aluminum. Then all of our brackets on the underside are welded in this department. That would be our lock brackets, our brackets that support our gas springs, all of the external hardware underneath the covers. Additionally, at this process, we weld in all of the support studs for the cover. For a heavy-duty cover, it's going to have more support studs, and for a light-duty cover, it'll have less support studs and also be a little bit thinner of a metal. So each stud gets welded into place, and then the products are staged and ready to go. The floor knows what product to make based on our production sheets. This is a production sheet that our computer prints out. It lists the name of the customer that the product is going to. It lists the shipping info and then all of the product info. So this is a heavy-duty cover for a Ford 2008 Ford F-250. This sheet will follow the cover the whole way through the shop, so at any point in time, production manager can know where in the process the cover is, when it will ship, how soon it can get to the customer. Once the covers are cut, bent, and then welded, they're ready for either 2 processes. They can either be finished, uncoated, and go out as uncoated diamond plate aluminum product, or they can get what we call Line X. That's our black finish. So in this booth is where we do the Line X and extra coating. What it is, as we talked about earlier, it's a polymer. It comes out of a gun hot, and then it will instantly adhere to the metal. It'll be a bond to the metal, so it won't scratch off like a paint or a powder coat. So this booth is very similar to a paint booth. The product is staged on a turnstile so that the worker can move the product around as he sprays it. It comes out of the gun, like we said, hot as a liquid. As soon as it hits the metal, it will adhere and dry instantly. Each side of the product is coated, and then the surface of the product is coated. All Line X product has a texture to it. When it comes out of the gun, it'll be a very smooth product, a very flowing product as it is now. And then once the product is dry, it is then textured in this process where the gun is aimed up in the air from a far distance away, and the product is textured with the Line-X coating. This process again is done to all sides of the product so that it's coated evenly. One of the nice things about Line-X, and you can see some of the scrap Line-X in the background, is unlike a paint or a powder coat where you have some issues with disposal, once Line-X comes out of the gun, it instantly turns into basically a hard plastic which is going to be disposed of just as any waste. At DiamondBack, we do a two-stage process with our black coating. The base stage is what we call Line-X. It's a truck bed liner product. And what Line-X does is it gives it that base coat, which gives it the tough, scratch-resistant surface. But Line-X uncoated can be UV affected. Some people, if you've owned Line-X in the past, it still looks great, but it can UV fade a little bit and what we call gray out. Line-X came out with a great product in 2007, which was called Line-X Extra. Line-X Extra is like a DuPont top coat, and it's basically a DuPont Kevlar paint. DuPont worked with Line-X to come up with a paint that used a Kevlar pulp, so it was very, very strong, and it gets sprayed on while the Line-X is still curing. So what we're going to do is look into the next room where the DuPont Kevlar Line-X Extra top coat is applied. Product, once it's Line-X, gets hung on these racks. The racks get pulled out and the Line-X Extra is applied. The Extra is applied evenly over the surface, and then the racks are slid back in to dry. It has a 24-hour cure time on the Line-X Extra, so the product that gets done today will ship out tomorrow. Once the product is welded and all the holes are drilled for all of the hardware, it's ready for final assembly. This is the line where we go through final assembly, and we have a lot of great employees that'll work and put all of the hardware onto the product specifically for each cover. In this section, we'll put the hinges on. DiamondBack developed a specific hinge. It's a stainless steel hinge, and what the hinge allows the covers to do is it allows the covers to be locked and obviously secured and open and close, but the hinges also have a release pin which allow the cover to be removed when it's at 90 degrees, so a customer can take the panels apart by himself. The hinge was something we had to specifically engineer ourselves, and in this stage the hinges are applied. All of our exterior hardware is stainless steel. So all of the hinges are stainless steel, all of the exterior bolts are stainless steel, so the product is aluminum with the stainless steel hardware gives the customer something that isn't going to rust or corrode. After the hinges, the product will then go to a section where the locks will be applied, all the weather strip will be applied, and if it gets cleats, the cleats will be applied. Our HD covers come with what we call tie-down cleats. These tie-down cleats allow the customer to strap items on top of the cover and secure it using ratchet straps or some kind of tie-down. These tie-down cleats are drilled the whole way around the cover. This is obviously one of our Line-X covers, so this has come out of the Line-X Extra booth, it's cured, and now it's ready for final assembly. Each cover will get a lock mounted on the cover. Lock rods will then be mounted onto the lock and then put into brackets which allow the cover to be adjusted by the customer. DiamondBack uses a unique lock system for tonneau covers in that our locks are made out of galvanized steel rods, and those steel rods lock directly under the bed rails of the truck. There's no tracks or drilling or anything, so we've made our lock brackets adjustable. So every truck is different and every truck mount is different, but the adjustable locks allow the customer or our dealers to adjust the covers tight under the bed rail of the truck without having to install a track or a brace system. Once all of the hardware and the weather strip and the cleats and the locks and everything on, the cover is pretty much ready. What we do one more step before the cover leaves our facility, and that's do a quality checklist. We have about a 25-point quality checklist. Our guys will run down all of the points, making sure that the cover is exactly to specs, length, width is to spec, all of the hardware is functioning, all of it's on and applied correctly. And so now we'll go to the check table. Each product will come with an order form, and it'll have a quality check sheet. The quality check sheet runs over all of the dimensions and all of the weld quality, the weld look, all of the product being applied correctly. It also is the area where we can confirm the order with the product to make sure that we've got the right order with the right product. Once the product is quality checked and everything is good to go, we know it's ready to be shipped out and it's to the quality of DiamondBack products. It'll then be packaged and ready to ship. This is a very important part in the procedure because our products are shipped on freight, so they're broken down and shipped on a pallet. And a lot of times companies have issues with freight, and when we first started we had a lot of issues with freight. We re-engineered the way we packaged our product to take out any places where a box could get crushed or something could get hurt or damaged, and our product is designed to haul load on top. So we've set it up, we don't want it being stacked on top of, but we've set it up that even if it is stacked on top of, it generally gets it to the end user in perfect condition. We almost have no issues with freight. The way we accomplish that is at this process where our products are packaged. And we worked with boxes in the past, we work with different wrap techniques. This technique really performs the best where we mount the product, we stack it up with styrofoam spacers so that the product can't scratch itself or touch itself. And then the product essentially gets wrapped in a double-walled thick cardboard, which is thick and keeps it completely protected from any scratches or anything coming on the side. Now we're in our shipping warehouse. This is where product that's going to be shipped out today will get staged. It'll get banded to a pallet and then it'll get shipped out. So this is the completed product. Once it's been wrapped up, once it's been banded and ready for shipment, this shipping means allows the product to get to its destination without getting damaged or hurt. This stage is where all of the final parts of a cover will come together. So if a customer is just ordering a cover, they'll just get a cover on the pallet, it'll get shipped out. If a customer is getting accessories or other kinds of products for it, this is where all the accessories will get matched together, and then the cover will go with the accessories that it requires.